Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Now let's welcome our main speaker, Joe.
My name is Joe Hawk, and I'm an alcoholic. Joe. So tonight you get the wolf and the hawk. Get you on the ground or in the air, any way you want. It's good to be here. I too just celebrated 21 years in August, and I'm grateful for that. And I express that gratitude through action. I don't sit home with it. I don't nurture my gratitude. I don't make a list to drum it up. Because when I make a list, I let myself way down. I heard when I was new, you'll never get what you want, but you'll always get what you need. At a year and a half, I was beyond anything I ever dreamed of, so then what do? I've gotten everything I've ever wanted. I've gotten everything I've ever needed. And I've gotten stuff beyond my wildest dreams. The only thing I haven't gotten is what I deserve. I still remember going to my sponsor the first time. It was either something really good or really bad, doesn't matter if you're alcoholic. And I said, Don, I don't feel like I deserve this. He said, whew, thank God. I think this is about mercy and grace rather than justice. If everyone in this room got what they deserved before they got here or since they've been here, this would be an empty room, except for the virtuous. But this room, I don't think there'd be very many. I don't think this is a room where there's a lot of complaining about it was the maid's day off today and I had a bad time. I have a feeling whenever I've been in this room that we're talking about life and death. And that's where I like to be. Because 21 years sober, I do not take for granted that that has anything to do with day after tomorrow. Now, I also don't believe you go to the person in the room that sobriety doesn't matter. And whoever got up the earliest this morning has a horrible job they probably don't like. I got up this morning at 12:30 because I wanted to, right? I'm a little nervous because there's friends in the room.
Those may bite you.
And they're the only ones that ever hurt me. And even the people I live with are here tonight. They see me on a 24/7 basis for the last year and a half. It's scary, but I've survived. I'll have a t-shirt one day. Jaime will make me a t-shirt. I survived living with Jaime and Shelley. I want to thank Sheldon for sharing. He's been a dear friend. Congratulations to the birthday people. And my only hope would be that you don't consider it an accomplishment. There's a lot of stuff in Alcoholics Anonymous to increase the ego. And there's a few things in Alcoholics Anonymous to smash the ego. And you can take all of it any way you want, and it can work either way. You can get up with 6 months, and they pat you on the back, and they tell you what a great job you've done, and you go and you sit down, and you realize you've had nothing to do with it. You've never been able to do that in your life, and your ego gets a little deflated. Or you can sit back in your seat and say, boy, I'm 6 months sober, I got a conscious contact with God, here we go, haven't I done a great job? Because quitting drinking was an accomplishment. But looking around the room once again, I don't think there's too many people in this room who are here for any other reasons but the grace of God. I mean, it's not a place you would plan. I mean, normal people wouldn't plan on a Monday morning that on Saturday evening they're going to go to the Marina Center to join in with the lovely alcoholics in AA. It's not on your agenda if you're a go-getter, a mover and a shaker, right? But what is the fellowship here? What is it that we have? Well, it used to be that we would share in a common problem. That's a little hard nowadays. We're in the new millennium. A lot of us have been told the whole family's sick. Alcoholism's the same as drug addiction. 12 steps work for all these programs, but why is it that that magic happens one alcoholic with another? The 4th edition of the Big Book has taken some liberties, and they make statements like that a meeting in front of a computer screen is the same as your home group. Well, I've never sat in front of a computer screen that terrifies me as much as sitting in front of this room. Just kidding. I've never sat in front of a computer screen where I feel the connection that I can feel when I look in your eyes. My home group around the corner is not the same as a meeting online. They could have said it's a nice thing to get in touch with us. It's good if you're homesick. It's good if you're in... I was in a place for 5 years in northern India with no fellowship. I had to create the fellowship that I crave. And you know what the fellowship is I crave? It's people that want to get well. First meeting I ever went to, a very famous speaker at the time, Franklin Williams, my sponsor, took me to a convention. I heard this speaker and he said, 21 years ago, I think he had 45 years, he said, you can stay sick in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous as long as you want and you'll have plenty of company. He also said you can get well in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and you'll have plenty of company. It's your choice. Live on a spiritual basis, die an alcoholic death. I love the way How It Works was read tonight. I think it was absolutely perfect. What was it? The Delusion of the Alcoholic, the chapter to the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after. That's exactly what happened for me. I brought to the program the delusions of this alcoholic, read the chapter to the agnostic, looked at my personal adventures before the first drink and after the first drink, and it made clear 3 pertinent ideas, and I came out of the delusion. Right? It's not just a description. Sheldon said that. It's not just the description. What is it? Was this a class? I'm going to give you the description of an alcoholic, and you're going, that's an interesting theory. I'll take that back to my Economic 101 class and share that with them, and they'll be really... It's that thing that happens. One alcoholic sitting with another. And a man was willing to do that with me 21 years ago, after I hit bottom in the fellowship. I thought I was in AA. If you're new and you're going to meetings and you're not drinking, great. But I got some bad news. Going to meetings and not drinking does not treat alcoholism. Going to meetings and not drinking does not treat alcoholism. Because the fellowship's just 1/3 of the program they gave us. They gave us 3 legacies: unity, recovery, and service. And I sat in these meetings. I loved the meetings. I was making friends. Denver, Colorado, 1982. For some reason, the obsession to drink was removed in a hotel room. AA did not get me sober. I arrived here sober. But that's a fucked up thing, because I arrived here in a state of consciousness that my history proves to me I hate. I hate sobriety. Untreated. I love what's on the other side of taking the treatment. But if nobody lays out the treatment for you, what else are you going to think except what you're asked to do? Go to 90 meetings in 90 days, just don't drink, get a couple commitments, become a part of the fellowship. But you know, there was a time when our success rate was 75%, and they took you to recovery before they took you to a meeting. You had to go through the first 8 steps before you were allowed to go to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, when our recovery rate was 75%. Now, I think nowadays we'd be stretching it to say that AA's success rate is 12%, 15%. Why? Oh, just go to meetings and wait till you feel better. I've heard people say that about the steps. Oh, I've actually heard this. The steps will get you drunk. Or don't get too happy. What do we have, like Depressive Anonymous, right? We're supposed to like, stay depressed, right? It's your choice. Die an alcoholic death, live on a spiritual basis. Don't get too successful. Phew, Jesus Christ. What kind of God do you believe in? Right? Never get what you want, you'll just get what you need. God, I was blown away when I had 30 days. I never had 30 days in 18 years. And I tried to stop, I tried to quit drinking at an early age. My problem isn't stopping drinking. That's no accomplishment. My problem is staying stopped. I never had 28 days in 18 years, and I'd been in 10 treatment centers, had a degree in psychology, and had been to the penitentiary. I've heard people say, going to jail, I couldn't drink. What do you mean? Fuck, there's better drugs and alcohol in the jails than there is on the streets. You're not going to sell no bad dope in the penitentiary. Where are you going to go? You know, run across town? You ain't going nowhere, right? It's either good or you get killed, right? So it's really confusing when you're new. If you're new, all you need to know is if you can figure out this program, you'll probably graduate and go on to bigger and better things. There's a lot of movements nowadays. I've actually heard spiritual teachers say this to alcoholics in our program. They'll say things like, well, AA was kind of like kindergarten, but we have and it's always bigger, better, more advanced, and quicker. Right? We Westerners love that. Instant oatmeal, instant relief, instant, you know. Instant karma is a mother, right? That's where you like fall out on the podium after saying something about somebody else. I'm not afraid. I don't give a shit. Right? But there are some things I do care about. And I believe after doing this for a while now, longer than I've ever done anything in my life, realizing this is not something I've done. I've been a part of something for over 21 years that I've yet to be able to figure out. Isn't that interesting? The first thing in my life that I couldn't figure out is the only thing that's ever worked. That says something to me about the things I can figure out. You're new? They say, don't make any major decisions in the first year. 2 weeks later, your sponsor is asking you to decide to turn your entire will and life over the care of God. No major decision there, huh? Yet I still hear people all the time. I heard it the other day. The only thing I have to do in AA is change everything. Good luck. If you can change everything, you've just failed the second half of the first step. Your life is manageable, get it all right, and you probably won't drink again. That's the get the ducks in a row drinkers. If I get all the ducks in a row, I won't feel this way, and then I won't drink. So they're either drinking because of circumstance, or they're drinking because of their emotional nature. Well, my emotions are pretty much straightened out. I have tools now to bring myself back from resentment and fear, uncomfortable stuff. I'm not uncomfortable much of the time. I used to live from a very static place early in sobriety, and once in a while I'd be moved back to peace. In the last few years there's been a shift to where I live from a place of peace, and once in a while I'm moved out of it. So, if I'm an emotional drinker, maybe now that that stuff's straightened out, maybe now I can drink. Or maybe I'm a drinker that didn't care how I felt. Drink when you feel good, drink when you feel bad, drink when she leaves, drink when she stays, not sure which one's a celebration, which one's depressing. You know, that kind of drinker. Team wins, team loses, a good... But the place I hate to drink from is that place where you're just like, mediocre, blasé. Numb. I don't like that. I like either being the greatest boyfriend in the world or an absolute piece of shit. I can't handle it makes me uncomfortable to say, hey, I'm an average guy doing the best he can. I make mistakes. But I can talk all day about feeling like a piece of shit and I ain't worth nothing. That's as much ego as thinking you're the greatest guy in the world. The ego gets you either way. Because I'm unique. Either way, I'm unique, right? I'm either above you or below you. Never just right there. One guy looking in another guy's eyes. Equal. Peers. Peers? I didn't even know how to spell the word till I got in Alcoholics Anonymous. What's a peer? I never had a peer. I'm either more intelligent, less intelligent, worse, better. Mediocre. Average. Kinda. Sorta. Maybe. A little. Really hard words for me in my life, right? You take 100 people from Alcoholics Anonymous, put them back in the bar. God forbid. I was told you'll find about 20 or 30, 1/3 at the bar, wallowing in their whiskey, crying in their beer. They don't know there's anything better to find in alcohol. You'll find 20 or 30 in the middle of the bar, sitting at the tables, come in, drink till they feel good, then they go home. Then you'll find these strange characters who will not settle for sitting at the bar wallowing in their crap because they know there's more to find in alcohol. They won't settle for just sitting in the middle of the room, drink till you feel good, then go home. They got to drink till they feel good before they even go to the bar, in and out of the bar, going here, going there, doing to the max, the gusto, mad dog alcoholics. Now put those 100 people back in Alcoholics Anonymous, you know what you'll find? They do AA about the same way they drink. Some people, all they do is think meetings are to dump their problems. Focus on the problem. I've even heard in other states, not so much in LA, I've heard people in Alcoholics Anonymous say, if I share a problem, it cuts it in half. Well, my mind goes, well, then how many times do I have to share it until it's totally gone? Half, 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 half. How many times is that? Doesn't go away. It isn't half. I share my problems. Sometimes they increase twofold. Right? I've involved somebody else. Right? Then you got those that come in, just do enough. Just do enough till you feel good, then go home, feel grateful. But a strange thing happens with gratitude. It starts to choke you. Gratitude starts to choke you when it's not flowing in and through you into the lives of other people. Become dry. Dry drunk. Harry Tebow. Our boy here has some of his tapes, I believe. Lost in Alcoholics Anonymous, the pamphlet. It once was a pamphlet. The letters of Dr. Harry Tebow. Now, why are they important for us? Shit, it's the only important thing for us if you're alcoholic and you've gotten free of the craving and the obsession and you're not drunk today. If you get the craving when you drink alcohol, that's all you need to know. You lose control once you start. If you don't have that, go somewhere else. It ain't for you in AA. If you don't get the craving, just go drink the way you want. But I suppose we're here because we can't drink the way we want. You set out to have a few, you end up over here. Set up to have the whole lot, you only have a few, your tolerance is all messed up, boom, you're flat on your face with the wrong guys. I'm powerless over alcohol because I don't have the power to control the way my drinking goes once I start to drink. Mental obsession, easy. You can't stay stopped. If you can stay stopped, this program ain't for you. Just go home, don't drink no matter what, make your life better, smash your ego, work on your defects, you'll be great. Sad thing is they don't get that in AA. They just sit here and continue to tell us that, and you feel out of place because you're a real alcoholic in the last place where you're supposed to feel at home. Most spiritual traditions nowadays have 3 ways of carrying their message. Orally, not that way. Orally, written, and another kind of transformation that takes place here. Our written history is all but obsolete. The Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it ain't popular to talk about what's in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous in the program that it was named after. It's not a popular message nowadays. Oh, he's one of those big book guys. Oh, I'm a guy that needs all 3 parts of the program, unity, recovery, and service. Where's recovery? Great question. Our book used to say the first 164 pages of that book is the AA message. Now, they've changed that, and it now says on the paper cover on our 4th edition that page 1 through 164 had been the foundation for many alcoholics. It's now a history book. They made it a history book with one statement. And isn't it interesting? It's so alcoholic that on the only paragraph that takes pride in that the first 164 pages haven't been changed, they changed that paragraph. The written tradition is all but out the window. You try to share it and want to be popular? Carry the message of Alcoholics Anonymous as outlined in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and see how popular you are. In most places. I don't know about here. The verbal, the oral tradition, it's hard to find, but it still happens, one alcoholic with another. I've met guys that sat down one-on-one and said, you know, From what I've heard, they're up in the middle of Canada or in the middle of nowhere in Arkansas, and they heard some guy say the program's in the big book, and two guys sat down and said, you know, I think we're supposed to read this. And then one of them said, you know, I think we're actually supposed to do what it says. It's kind of like now the fellowship has become like a river, or the recovery program has become like a river. And we have all kinds of groups that sit by the river, read a manual on what the river would be like if you jumped in it, studying the manual thinking that's what it's like to jump in the river. Studying a book on what it would be like to jump in the river. Then we got people that build observatories way, way up from the river. And they observe the river from a distance and write great theses about the river. Then we got people say, fuck it, I got no choice, jump in the river. But then they start swimming upstream. Then we got those that just don't have a choice. They jump in the river, go with the flow. I've done all those things. That's why I can talk about it. I'm not talking to you about things I haven't done. I thought meetings and not drinking was treating my alcoholism until it came to the surface. Different lengths of time. I've met people 21 years sober before the root of their disease came to the surface and they needed to give themselves to the other legacy of our program, recovery. I made it 6 months, I was ready to die. Inside. It wasn't out here, everything was better out here. And I hit an internal bottom on the second half of step 1. I knew I was powerless over alcohol. But I thought, now that I'm not involved in the problem anymore of drinking, I should be able to manage my life. Woke up 6 months sober with things better than they'd been in a long time outside of me, and I was inside. I was dying of untreated alcoholism. Thank God for that day. I was given the grace to see that at 6 months. Surrounded by people who were willing to say, you're dying of a part of the disease you don't even know you have. What do you mean a part of the disease I don't know I have? And I would give them a lecture that I learned from working in treatment. Because of the neurotransmitters in my brain and the lack of connection between the two and the enzyme reaction in my liver when I put alcohol in my system, I crave alcohol and I can't control the amount once I start. And I have the mind of a chronic alcoholic. Is that all there is? Is that all I have? Is it just a twofold disease? Isn't it interesting that alcohol treats alcoholism until it doesn't anymore? Alcohol treated my alcoholism. So what's alcoholism? Alcoholism is the stuff you've been pouring booze on for all these years that's left after you stop drinking. It comes to the surface. If you're given the grace to see it, and if you have it. Everybody in this room has probably known a hard drinker. You've probably known hard drinkers who could drink you under the table, and then they're given a good reason. They get a little shock from the wife, the judge, whatever, doctor. They go home, they stop drinking, maybe they have a couple weeks of discomfort because they got a lot of booze in their system, and then they just head off onto this gradual, uphill, wonderful, their life just gets better not drinking. My internal life got worse not drinking. That's alcoholism. And for some reason I was given a period of grace. That's what they call it, grace, period. I've seen people take the third step, lose everything in their life. They're given time and space to do inventory, and they don't see it as a grace period. They see it as a period where they got to get all that stuff they just lost back in order before they can write their inventory some more, failing to see they're in a state of grace, period. Grace is just the space between your last drink and your next drink. Everyone in this room is going to die either from alcoholism or with alcoholism. What is your choice to be? I don't want to die from alcoholism, sober or drunk. And if you're new, you don't have to drink alcohol to die from alcoholism. Ask anybody in this room that's been here for a period of time about the guys with 13 years, 7, 14, 21, who go home one day having told the group everything is just wonderful and blow their head off. That's alcoholism. It's a deadly, progressive, terminal disease, and whether you believe it or not, because we're surrounded by people that get it, that have it, that want it. We don't know the tens of thousands of alcoholics that are dying in this city on a weekly basis. All around us. They used to die here in these rooms. Now we're surrounded by a slew of places where a lot of us don't go, and they get to see them die. They send them to us when they're cleaned up. A lot of them do it here, though I know this is a place where a lot of people do that together. One alcoholic with another. That's suffering. Understanding each other, what that's like. Try to say to a non-alcoholic, you woke up today and with every opportunity in your life going well, you had no choice but to drink. That there was no choice. Try to share that with a non-alcoholic and they'll think you're absolutely crazy. You know why? Because you are. The insanity of alcoholism is insanity. How many of us, myself included, thought when they would read chapter 5 that the first few paragraphs were about those poor sots that weren't going to make it, constitutionally incapable of being honest? I remember reading the doctor's opinion one time and it describes 3 types: psychopath, the manic depressive, and the man who's normal in every respect except in the effect alcohol has on him. Of course, which one was I? I was that guy, able, friendly, intelligent, normal in every respect. And those poor people that How It Works describes, I feel really sorry for them. Because I don't have grave emotional and mental disorders until you start to involve yourself in the first step. I have a mind that will take me back to something that I absolutely know in my right mind will kill me. That's a grave mental disorder. I used to think alcoholism was the crazy shit some of us did drunk. What does that do for the men and women who didn't leave the house, never got in trouble, never went to treatment, never lost a husband, never lost a wife? What, are they not as bad as we are? No, the insanity of alcoholism takes place when you're absolutely bone dry, at your very best, further away from your last drink than you've ever been. The insanity of alcoholism is picking up the first drink. I've heard it put in a way in Australia I've never heard anyone ever say it before. And that is, I never took the first drink drunk. That's the insanity of alcoholism. And I did that over and over and over. 28 days out of the Michigan State Penitentiary. 21 years old. I'd been to treatment 7 times. I had a degree in psychology. I had been a therapist in a treatment center, drinking with the director of the program that I worked for. I walked out of the Michigan State Penitentiary having gotten drunk or high every single day while I was there for 15 months, into a parole officer's office, feeling good, chipper, the family's behind me again. Oh my God, that scares me.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think.
The family's behind you again. Real alcoholics know what I mean, because you know in your heart you're going to break their heart again. It's only going to be a matter of time. Please don't believe in me, I would feel. Made my first report, 28 days, doing great, feeling good. That's where feeling has no, I was feeling great. I was doing well. My family believes in me again. They're giving me a little bit of money. And on the 28th day, I made my second report. He outlined the conditions of my parole. No drinking, no drugs, no bars. You can't hang out with ex-felons. And you can't leave Calhoun County, Battle Creek, Michigan, a very boring county, an hour and a half from Chicago and an hour and a half from Detroit, and telling me that I can't do any of those things is telling me, now just go home and don't breathe anymore, right? Don't breathe anymore. Because what do? I drink, I take drugs, I hang out with ex-felons, and I leave the county. You gotta leave the county. When you gotta go, you gotta go. When you gotta have a drink, you gotta have a drink. I walk out of his office, confident that I was clear on the conditions of my parole, feeling good, with a strange thought that I needed a pack of cigarettes. Walked into a bar, picked up a drink, called an ex-felon, and drove out of the county. And the great thing is I got away with it. You see, we don't get sober on the truth. We get sober when we run out of lies. Truth didn't get me sober. Alcoholics Anonymous didn't get me sober. Alcoholics Anonymous doesn't keep me sober. But the principles of Alcoholics Anonymous, you people, the process outlined in the book, great sponsorship, good bad examples, good examples. You know there's good bad examples in AA. Who have you learned more about what you don't want from? They say it. I'm not making this stuff up. Don't blame me. I'm not making this stuff up. They say stick with the winners. They wouldn't say stick with the winners if there weren't losers. They'd say stick with anybody. I learn more from people that don't have what I want than people that have what I want, because people that have what I want is getting slim. Hate to say it, I'm not being arrogant. I can barely speak English anymore, but I'm not being arrogant. So I can't even say that word right. Try to find out about meditation in Alcoholics Anonymous. Oh, meditation's when you listen. Prayer is when you talk. Well, what else? How long you been doing it? Well, I've been praying and meditating for 21 years. Well, tell me some more about it. No, you got to find your own way. The ones that have found something tell you got to find it from your own heart. The ones that haven't found nothing tell you all it is praying, listening and talking and being quiet. So whether they've gotten free or not, you're still going to have to find your own way. But I do know this, never once in Alcoholics Anonymous have I felt that I'm doing this alone. Never once have I ever shared anything in Alcoholics Anonymous where there isn't somebody in the room that understands, in a way that's beyond understanding. Why? Because the third way the message is still carried is the heart transmission. Haven't you ever gone on a 12-step call with someone who's just out of their mind, stone drunk, and 6 months later you see them in a meeting and they say, I don't know what you said to me, but I remember. You touched something other than their mind. Why would you be interested in touching the part of the alcoholic that's going to take him back to the next drink? You want to touch the part of the alcoholic that's going to keep him from the next drink. You can talk to people that are absolutely sober, and they might be on the, we call it a delayed hammer. There's different kinds of there's the direct hammer where it's just like boom, you get it right then and right there. Then there's like one of those, you know, like when a boxer gets something hit in the jaw, and then about 5 minutes later he hasn't been hit again, but he just goes boom, right? Some of this on the way home, you'll get one of these delayed hammers where it's like, oh, ow, ooh, because before it sets you free, it's got to piss you off. We're not people that do well with the truth. I mean, tell your story one time about every place you ever went where the truth was just so easy for you to accept. Right? Probably wasn't the truth. It was probably manufactured for your pleasure, for your pleasure, for your pleasure. I'm not here for your pleasure. I'm here with my own pain. I'm not here because you might be alcoholic and you might not. Boy, what a great way to keep you from being involved in alcoholics. Oh, those people aren't alcoholics. We heard it the other week at my home group. Oh, there's so many non-alcoholics here. Who gives a shit? Be here because you're alcoholic. And help those that don't know find out whether they are or they aren't, and help them get free. I used to think my place in AA was to convince anybody with a drinking problem that AA was for them. God, I've helped a lot of people get free of Alcoholics Anonymous, and they thanked me. They thanked me. Thank you. I'll give you an example. I'm at a noon meeting over on the promenade one day. And there's a guy you can obviously tell. You can tell when you've been around for a while when they're welcoming somebody back who's obviously had a drink. And they're patting him on the back. Sometimes we give new people more attention than those that stay around. And they want to be new, and they want to be new, because they get more attention when they're new. And they suffer from a delusion. We tell them, keep coming back, and that's their problem. They think they can. They think they can keep coming. Oh, I'll just go drink, have a bad week, maybe lose another girlfriend, come back. Hey, so I'll feel bad for a few days. Bang, one of those drunks, you're dead. You don't get back. How do you know you can keep coming back? So I'm at one of these meetings, they're comforting this guy. It's not a bad thing. I could tell, and the meeting went on. I shared something afterwards. He said, I have to talk to you. I said, great. He said, I have a guru, Indian guru, and she doesn't know me from Adam. We've only talked, we've only met face to face 5 or 6 times. She doesn't know anything about my life. And the last time I saw this woman, I leaned over to get a hug, and she whispered in my ear, get out of Alcoholics Anonymous, you don't belong there. And it scared the guy to death because he'd never told her that. He said, I'm scared to death. I said, well, that's what those people are like sometimes. Have you drank recently? He said, yeah, they're welcoming me back. I said, what happened? He said, I had a beer. I said, and? I mean, for me, it's always a beer, and then. He said, nothing. I just got myself back to this meeting. I said, how long were you in the program? He said, 7 years. I said, nothing happened? He said, no. I said, did any of these men ever talk to you in 7 years about your drinking? He said, no, they love me just the way I am. He came over to my house 2 or 3 times. We looked at his drinking. He's a kid that got in trouble once when he was 15 years old. Mommy and Daddy put him in treatment. He's outgrown it. I didn't tell him what he was. It's not my place to tell somebody. It's my place to help somebody find their own truth. Found out he wasn't an alcoholic, called me a year later from New York. He said, "Thank you. Since I got free of Alcoholics Anonymous, it feels like 10 tons were lifted off my back. My whole life has taken off. I've always wanted to work in radio. I'm working in radio. I'm doing great. I work on my defects. I just smash my ego. I bring about surrender." And I thought, great, because you can just not drink no matter what. He said, right, I was always able to. And we love them just the way they are. Oh, in the early days, they said, you make that man as uncomfortable as you possibly can. If he doesn't want what you have, let it go. You might spoil another chance. Get him when he's as uncomfortable as possible. He might be able to hear something with his heart because he won't be listening with his head, because the only thing you can listen with through the pain is your heart. You're not going to rationalize your way out of that kind of incomprehensible demoralization, but we can touch each other's hearts. And a man did that for me in 1982 in a treatment center. And I don't think he really wanted to be there on a Friday night. I bet he would have loved to be home with his wife. And I bet he didn't agree with everything in that treatment center, but I bet you this, he was there because he's alcoholic, not because I was or wasn't or anybody else there or their philosophy. He was there because he is clear that he's an alcoholic, and he spoke to me. Scared me. It took me 6 months to ask him. Because you know what scared me? It didn't scare me that his story was like mine. I felt that I had finally found somebody that he felt like I did as a kid. Separate, different, out of place, like an alien from another planet. I used to have daydreams that a spaceship was going to land in my backyard, a little green man was going to get out, and he was going to say, "You weren't born here, kid. You failed at the test and we're taking you home." I would have been like, "What? Yeah." That spaceship never came. I found that in a bottle of Chivas Regal I stole out of my dad's liquor cabinet. I like to say I started at the top and slowly worked my way down. Right? Chivas Regal to I don't give a fuck. What do you got? Right? That's a big drop. Right? My drug of choice was alcohol? I don't think so. But they tell you, no, my drug of choice was yours. The only drug I didn't have a choice over was alcohol. It's my drug of no choice. Alcohol was my drug of no choice. Every description in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous that describes the insanity of alcoholism is describing someone who thought, today I have a choice. I don't have a choice whether it's in my body or not in my body. And there is another place beyond the 9th step where it describes a place where there's no choice to drink. I have as little choice to drink today in a fit spiritual condition as I did to not drink when I got here. And it's called a position of neutrality in those promises that some groups won't even tell you exist. They'll tell you there's 12 promises. Only 12 promises in our big book. And they come halfway through the 9th step. My God, if you're new and you're sitting here and you have a mind like I did, your mind would say, I will never get those 9-step promises because I am never going to be able to get myself halfway through the harm that I've caused. Well, there's some great promises before the 9th step. There's some great promises even before you take the 3rd step prayer. There's some wonderful promises after the 5th step. What else have I ever wanted in my life but to be able to sit alone at perfect peace and ease? It's promised. And if your sponsor's using promises like a carrot that maybe one day you'll get them, get somebody else that uses them like a checklist, because if they aren't happening when you get to that page, you miss something. And my sponsor never used those promises as carrots. They used them as a checklist. Sometimes quickly, yeah, sometimes slowly, yeah, but they always began to materialize when I worked for them. There's some great promises halfway through the 9th step. And see, here's the trick. I can't get myself halfway through the amends that I owe. My friend Mark from Texas was sharing one time at a meeting in Texas, and he said that he finished every amends that he was consciously aware of, although he knows there'll be some more in the future. And a good old boy from Texas said, the idea that you can finish every amends you ever had is like thinking you could take a feather pillow from the top of the Empire State Building, cut it open, let all the feathers go, and then go find every one of them. Mark didn't even think 1 second. He said, what if you had a personal relationship with the creator of those feathers? Could he take you to every one? Because I know people in this room, in my life all around this country who have been given the power and the grace. I know it's a scary idea, but if lack of power is our dilemma, then having some power in our life must be the solution. I'm not afraid to admit to you that today I have been given, in these last 20 years, a tremendous amount of power through the grace of God. Not self-power, not from knowledge, not even from wisdom, from experience, from having the things that block me from God cleared away, from putting one foot in front of the other and making those amends. But on the other side of those amends, there's some promises that describe a place. Imagine sharing this at most of the meetings that you and I know. Sanity has returned. You know, where they still believe you got to be insane, or that your mind is a dangerous neighborhood to go into with this many years. I love what goes on in my mind, because you know what? Sometimes my mind is very entertaining. And sometimes my mind is extremely quiet and a wonderful place from where it used to be. My mind is not a dangerous neighborhood. It's a tool that I can use simply. That's it. It's no longer the master. I have prayed for a while now for it to be the servant. My heart's the master. There is a position described past the 9th step. If you're new, you're looking for a sponsor, you try to find someone who tries to do what's in that big book, go around this area and ask 2 questions. Do you have a meditation practice on a daily basis, and have you finished every amends that you were consciously aware of from your last inventory or however many inventories you've done, and see if alcoholics are more afraid of having some power in their life than remaining irresponsible and powerless with unmanageable lives. What kind of a message would it be for me tonight to say to the new people that I'm powerless over alcohol after 21 years and my life is unmanageable? Something has come between me and alcohol for 21 years, and I have a life that's manageable. Do I make mistakes? Yes. Do I cause harm? Yes. Do I still have inventory? Yes. There's people in this room I have red inventory to. I don't have one man in my life that I can only share that with, because the more people you share those stuff with, the more open you are. The more you open yourself up, the more open you become. I've been given the grace to finish amends every time I've ever written inventory except the first time. It drove me to my knees. Trying to live life and practice 10, 11, and 12 with unfinished amends, it's a horrible thing, but it was a lot better than the way I was living before I started amends. Every year has gotten better for me. If I was to look at my life now circumstantially, I'd be a wreck. But if I was to look at it from a place within, I'm happier than I've ever been. I have more peace than I've ever had in my life, and I'm in the middle of watching a dream come true that I've had for years, to one day own a place where friends could come and we could be together in whatever you want to call it, where AA groups could come, where teachers could come. And once again, I get to watch something beyond my wildest dreams, and it's not what I wanted, and it's not what I needed, and it's not what I deserved. Thank God.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.